is
I'm not sure.
the Imam and the youth leader at the Muslim Community Center and a respected member of the Imams Council of Arizona. He holds a Master of Divinity in Islamic Chaplaincy from Bayan Graduate School, which has strengthened his ability to provide spiritual guidance and support to his community. Previously, he served as an Imam in Kentucky, where he gained valuable experience in community leadership and youth outreach. Sheikh Hassan is deeply committed to fostering the spiritual growth of his community, especially among young Muslims, and continues to be a source of guidance and inspiration for all those who serve. And I apologize if I mispronounce the titles, but Sheikh Hassan.
Jazakallah, that was a little above and beyond. I appreciate your kindness. Thank you so much. So originally when Sheikh Dittmar had reached out to me to talk about the book, I think the first question I had is, how did you find time to write the book? Because, we Imams don't have time to write stuff.
That's true.
SubhanAllah. We don't have enough time to write khutbahs, let alone books. So I was, of course, I'm. By the way, if you don't go, let's go a little further back. I'm honored and humbled that we're classmates. So we are classmates and batchmates. So we graduated together. Alhamdulillah. And he's a gem of a person, subhanallah. The most humblest and kindest man you'll meet. Allah has blessed him immensely, and I pray continue to keep blessing you, and we can benefit all from your beautiful work. I was just pointed out, I'm gonna steal some notes from Dr. Scott from last night. Dr. Scott, is that okay?
Please.
So the background of the book is that it was translated into Albanian. It was in Albanian first, and it was translated eventually into English because out of his own notes that he was teaching at Medina Institute in Atlanta, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. He had asked me to pick a hadith, and I said there's two favorite hadiths of mine, first and second one. The first one is favorite of mine, because I had recited that to my sheikh in Haram, right at the time of the Hajj, before Fajr Salah. So that is one of my most favorite hadith. And as all of us were hoping that nobody picks the hadith we like, of course Sheikh Watik beat me to the hadith today. He picked the hadith that is the most beloved to me. If I'm not mistaken, Sheikh.
Because I don't like to repeat what I say.
Okay, you see, I told you I was trying to do that today. But, alhamdulillah. But if I'm not mistaken, that only has one chain narration. There's only one rawi of the hadith of Umar radiallahu anhu, correct? If I'm not mistaken. In al-amal bin niyat is only with the Umar radiallahu anhu. There's not a second rawi.
The second one, I think.
There is one second one?
I think the second one.
Oh, the second one is, okay. Thank you for correcting me. So, it is my favorite hadith of all time, but my second favorite hadith. Of course, the book is a gem of a collection. You gotta understand, the way Imam Nawawi has put this hadith, they are applicable for a common man every single day. Every single day it's applicable. How your intentions are. What are your pillars of faith? How a Muslim should act? What should he be concerning himself? What is haram for him? What is halal for him? Halal bayin, haram bayin. Everything is listed. So all the hadith are meticulously listed. Of course, he starts off the first one when clearing your intentions. Clearing your intentions, and then you start to go. The second hadith is beautifully laid out of your pillars of faith. Right? And the hadith is beautiful because the first and second hadith both are knitted on the authority of Umar radiallahu anhu. May Allah be pleased with him. And the second hadith, as Sheikh Dittmar corrected me, the second hadith is the only hadith that is narrated by Umar radiallahu anhu. Usually when a hadith is narrated, there is a couple of people who narrate on the authority, but it's only Umar radiallahu anhu who has narrated that hadith. There is not a second person that has narrated the same hadith. Right? And it's a beautiful, I said this last night, and I think a lot of people look at me when I say this crazily. I want you to close your eyes and imagine that scene in your head. Alayhi salatu wasalam is sitting in the company of the companions, alayhi salatu radiallahu anhum, in the Medina. And this man shows up, right? And the hadith is very detailed in the way the person is. He's wearing, I happen to wear the black coat, but he's wearing, his hair is jet black. Sawad shah, shadidu biyad thiyab, right? His clothes are exemplary white. لا يرى عليها أثر صفر ولا يعرف منا أحد. He looks like he just manifested out of thin air, right? And he's there. And he comes. فأسند ركبتيه إلى ركبتيه. You know, I'm getting goosebumps when I talk about it, wallahi. I'm not saying these words. He comes and he sits and he crisscrosses his legs, just like our brother sitting down here. And he crisscrosses his legs and he comes so close to alayhi salatu wasalam that their knees are touching now, right? فوضع كفيه على فخذيه. Then he takes his hand and he puts it on his thighs. And then he says, Ya Muhammad, right? And you're like, the guy is so detailed, right? The soul is so respectful. And Sheikh Dittmar, you know, mentions this, right? This is the adab. If you read the commentary, he takes it out. This is the first thing he mentions. This is the adab of when you're sitting down. When the sheikh, you're reading, sitting down and reading with it, with your shuyukh, you're supposed to be sitting in that posture. A lot of times, you know, we see, especially young kids, when they sit, they're reading Quran, they're back against the wall and the legs are straight out. It's considered a bad manners, out of bad manners to sit like that in front of the shaykh. Let alone you're, you know, alone by yourself. And subhanAllah, you know, we don't have that. We don't have those manners that are gone. We talked about this today when we were earlier together. The manners are gone out of that. So it's a beautiful description, right? So you're literally transported from this era into the era of alayhi salatu wasalam. And may Allah be pleased with Umar radiallahu anhu over and over and over again. May Allah elevate his statuses in Jannah, because Umar radiallahu anhu did such a great job of detailing the hadith out to us. Right? And I mentioned something last night. I wanna push the focus on it, because part of the hadith is focusing on al-ihsan. And this is a very, very fine point to remember. We as Muslims today have forgotten ihsan. Period. For Pakistanis, for us, ihsan means something different. You know, it's taking a favor from somebody. You know, that's commonly what we use it for. That's not what ihsan is technically. Ihsan is beautification of your rituals. And Sheikh Dittmar does a good job in detailing that. And I think in khutbah you kind of had talked about this idea. You know, it's just not, salah is important, right? The way you come to the masjid is important. Making enough time between ruku and sujood is important. But don't stop there. Your beautification of your salah goes further than that. Right? Ihsan is not, you know, just with Allah, because in this ihsan he asked to Rasulullah, Jibreel asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, what is ihsan? فقال تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. Subhanallah. Get to that level, and Shaykh Dittmar talks about the achieving of that level, right? The tawheed. It's like you're worshipping your Allah as you see Him manifested for you. But if you can't achieve that level, what is the second level down? What is the second best down? Is He's watching you all the times. And that's what we call, I don't want to go detail on that part, but that's where taqwa comes in, right? This is the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's taqwa. Right? I often commonly say this, and I thought I'll divulge just a little bit if you give me enough time. I divulge a little bit because taqwa for me, loosely translate when you read a lot of translations in English, taqwa is being fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. Allah is loving. He is Rahman al-Rahim. He is the most loving and the most, you know, beneficial, right? Taqwa is being mindful. Because your love for Allah is so immense that you stop yourself from doing it. Because He is displeased with you. That's it. It's not being fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the book talks about it in beautiful manners. And you know, I said this before and I'll say it again. It breaks down the themes right after the translation of the hadith. So it's easy to digest. We live in a world, there is way too much stuff. So this is something that you can have on your nightstand, subhanAllah. Or you can have it with you, you know what I mean, as a thing when you're traveling. And you can read, subhanAllah, for this is a long hadith, by the way. For this long hadith, you can read the whole commentary from different scholars that, as Dr. Scott had mentioned, all combined, concise into that page. That's it. In 2 pages, you're done with it. SubhanAllah. So put that effort into it, get the book and read it, and SubhanAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala write this in your hasanat and elevate it on the day of judgment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept that as a sadaqah jariyah that you leave behind in this world, and the knowledge that transmitted as people read it, and that becomes sadaqah jariyah for other folks, inshallah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from effort from all of the brothers that showed up tonight. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our Shaykh Wathiq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate you, give you more, and give you the health and the wealth to continue to put out this knowledge that you have immensely, mashallah, subhanAllah. Allah protect it too. Dr. Scott Lucas, may Allah protect you and continue to use in his way. Sheikh Didmar, may Allah elevate your status as well and continue to use in his way and protect you and keep our intentions clear for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala Ibrahim. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah. Finally, we have Sheikh Didmar Faya as the Imam of the United Islamic Center of Arizona, UICA, and the founder of the Greenway Academy, an Islamic school co-located with the UICA. He also founded 2 Islamic centers in Mexico and serves as a religious advisor for the Naqshbandiya Foundation for Islamic Education. He teaches Usul al-Fiqh and Spirituality at Medina Institute, USA, and is an active speaker at conferences within the USA and abroad. Sheikh Didmar has a strong academic background with degrees in Islamic studies and Islamic chaplaincy, and has studied under esteemed scholars from various backgrounds, including our beloved Sheikh Wathiq al-Ubaidi, the Imam of Imam Abu Hanifa Islamic Center. The Sheikh Didmar has earned ijazat from multiple disciplines, including the Quran, Hadith, and Fiqh from these scholars. He is the author of several books in Albanian and has contributed articles to magazines and newspapers on Islamic topics. We celebrate the completion and publication of his most recent work here tonight. Sheikh, if you could please.
Thank you so much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Sheikh Wathiq, thank you so much for putting this together tonight. It is an honor for me. It's a blessing for me as well to be here tonight, and not just to introduce the book, but also to enjoy this beautiful company that we have tonight. Allah bless you and reward you for putting this together, and your assistant here, Allah reward them too, and the panel, Dr. Scott Lucas, and also Imam Hassan, who are joining us. Allah reward them tremendously in this world, and at the same time elevate their status, Ya Rabbil Alameen, in what pleases Him. And I want to thank my brother Ahmed, who came with me from Phoenix, and he's spending a few days here in Tucson. And also at the same time, all of you who are present joining us here tonight, may Allah reward you for coming here tonight. And inshallah, we all benefit from this. The knowledge of hadith, I want to say a few words about hadith and maybe a few words about the book itself. The knowledge of hadith is a discipline, it's a science that has been inherited generations after generations through a lot of sacrifice, through a lot of hard work. And sometimes people, they travel tremendously from one place, from one country to another country, not in 2 hours flying with airplane, but probably for months just to hear a few narrations from Rasulullah ﷺ that only a few scholars, they had it in one particular region in the world. Not only that, but scholars who wrote and they preserved hadith, they were persecuted. Some of them, they were imprisoned as well, and they had to defend not only the hadith itself or the hadith itself, but they had to defend what the hadith was containing, which could have been, for example, a part of the Aqidah, a part of the Islamic creed. For example, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahimahullah ta'ala, he is very well known for his Musnad. And as you know, Imam Ahmad, his compilation, his Musnad, has a lot of hadith, thousands of the hadiths. And you know that he lived during a time when there was a fitna, where the leaders, who were Muslim leaders at that time, they were making scholars say and encourage others to believe that the Quran is created. And some of you may be aware of the Mu'tazila, for example. Mu'tazila, and there were other sects as well at that time that were claiming such claims. They had other things too in their own aqidah, but one of the things is that the Quran, for example, is created, you know. So Imam Ahmed, he struggled. You know, he said that the Quran is not created. And you had, at the same time, you had Imam Maturidi, Imam Ash'ari, one in Central Asia, another one in Baghdad. So was Imam Ahmed as well in Baghdad, in Iraq at that time. But what I'm saying is, through this narration of the hadith, they also preserved, they protected the principles of Islamic Aqidah as well. And now this science, through the narration, the riwayah, the asanid, the chains, like let's say for example, you have Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, you have a Sahaba who's narrating the hadith, and then you have a tabi'i, and then you have a tabi'ut tabi'i, and you have 3-4 other people, and maybe you have Imam Bukhari, or Imam Muslim, or somebody else among the narrators, right? So these chains and the way how the hadiths were preserved, including even the Quran, which is preserved in the tawatur, mutawatiran, are very essentials in our Islam. And this is one of the things that make Islam protected and very strong as a religion with a strong foundation compared to some other traditions out there. People sometimes they say, well, this is what we have, but we don't have the original copies. We don't have certain people in the chain of transmission, for example. When you look at Buddhism, when you look at Hinduism, and even when you look at the Judaism as well, Christianity, all of these religions, they do have the concept of the Senate. They do have the concept of the Senate, but there's a lot of problems with these chains of narrations in their own religion. So when you look at the way how Muslim scholars, they develop these chains, they develop them, you'll be amazed. You'll be like, what kind of work that they have put here? You know, how much they have traveled just to make sure that they are staying very loyal to everything the way how Rasulullah ﷺ has put. And indeed, there are hadiths, for example, that are considered to be weak, da'if. There are hadiths that are considered to be even mawdu', which is a forged hadith. There were different reasons why people, they came up with forged hadiths or even weak hadiths. There are some conditions that the scholars, they have put down, some shurut, for example, and if they didn't meet those shuruts, then they would consider the hadith to be, for example, to be weak hadith. Or if they knew exactly that certain individuals, they are making up stuff, and in reality they don't have a chain, scholars, they also filtered these hadiths and they consider these the mawdu'at. So they have separate books with all of these hadiths that are considered to be mawdu'at. But as I was mentioning, there is also a part of this is there is also criticism of hadith, which is very well known, right? Because of these weak hadiths, because mawdu'at as well, and there are other matters that are related to this, the criticism of hadith, and I don't intend to go into that at all. But what I'm trying to say is that there was a lot of efforts, and there were a lot of ways that they came up with as scholars throughout the centuries in order, as I said, not only to preserve in a very well way, but also at the same time to excel this science, to advance the science of hadith, of these traditions from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. nowadays, for example, I mean, in the world, you have the Quraniyun. Quraniyun are people who believe that we don't have to take from the hadith at all. That was during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He mentioned some good advice to his companions, and for his time he was very good. But the Quran is for all the time, so we don't have to really depend much on the hadith of the Nabi ﷺ, but we take straight from the Quran. So when you do that, we believe that our sources, our main sources, in order for rules to come out, laws, ahkam from our religion to come out, the first two sources are the Quran and the Sunnah. And the moment you're going to reject the Sunnah, because you're rejecting the hadith, and Sunnah is transmitted to us through hadith. So the moment you reject the Sunnah or the hadith, then you're rejecting a big portion of our religion. Therefore, a lot of awamir, a lot of these ahkam that we have in our religion, they're not there anymore. We can just neglect them, or you can just skip all of them. Why? Because they are narrated in the hadith. But that becomes very problematic when you look at the Quran itself, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ.
And the problem, we have some group here from those.
And I am aware of the submitters. I even wrote a paper, I remember years ago, about the submitters who were here in Tucson from one of their leaders that are, I mean, there are in many places around the world, and people who do not study the Islamic sciences, who do not have a deeper understanding of these Islamic disciplines, what they end up doing is hearing certain individuals who are talking about that Quran is our constitution, Quran is the essence. Why do we have to really rely and try to emulate a person who was living 1400 years ago? And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, why do we have to be like him? I mean, that was 1400 years ago, man. We live in the 21st century, right? But again, when you start studying a little bit more, when you see how the Quran emphasized on the importance of following the Prophet ﷺ, following his life, following his footsteps, and Nabi ﷺ, as a matter of fact, is the one who actually translates to us in a way, or dissects the ayahs of the Quran, the revelation that came down to him. He is the teacher. He is the one who teaches us what this means and what that means. So if I have a saying of the Prophet ﷺ in regards to an ayah of the Quran, I'm not going to come up with my own understanding of the ayah if he has already, commented that. Who am I? Am I better than him? A revelation came down to him. God spoke directly to him and to the angel. So who am I to give my own opinion in regards to a particular ayah when there is already a meaning established there? But these problems, you have even nowadays people who start rejecting certain ahkam from our deen that were passed on for 1400 years ago, century after century. Scholars, commenting, writing, we have books when it comes to fiqh and so many aqaid issues and all that. And then all of a sudden you hear today, oh, that doesn't mean that. Like, what? It doesn't mean what? Hijab is not mandatory. That is not important. This is not mandatory. How did you come up with that? Well, let me tell you how I came up with that. I went to the Arabic dictionary, the Qamus. Right? I went back to so I analyzed the word, for example, hijab or khimar or whatever you want to call it, and it has 3 different meanings. So I want to take this meaning. Why do we have to stick with this traditional meaning I want to take this meaning, right? But if you are going to neglect the hadith, if you're going to neglect certain statements of the Prophet ﷺ in regards to different laws, right? I'm not talking about only one particular thing. But if you're going to, completely neglect what was already mentioned by him, or by people who lived at his time, by his contemporaries, right? And then all of a sudden, you come up and you open the qamus, you open the dictionary, and you say like, well, this fits me better, this understanding fits me better because I live in a different time, then what's the difference between you and those who are just reforming their own religion based on their own desires? What's the difference? Nowadays we have places of worship where people who were considered to be, I don't want to say, perhaps condemned, yes, condemned by their own book, by their own book, and the actions that they were doing, they were considered to be condemned actions. Now all of a sudden, because it interests them, and they want to allow the sin, or they give a different interpretation to the sin, now they're even taking over houses of worship and they preach and they lead congregations and all of that, even though their own book says that this is something wrong. You cannot do that. But again, this is what happens when people go based on their own desires and they want to give their own interpretation in a way that fits them. And alhamdulillah, again, I am going back again to where I started by saying that these Muslim scholars throughout the century, talking about Imam al-Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam al-Tirmidhi, Imam Abu Dawood, Imam Ibn Majah, Imam al-Nasa'i, Dal Qutni, you had so many, Imam al-Bayhaqi, and so many others who contributed so much. And some of them, they memorized close to 1 million hadiths. Some of these people, they memorized hundreds and thousands of hadiths. They dedicated their lives in order to preserve the hadiths of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because they know that this is a part of the religion, right? And this is what we have nowadays. We understand religion better because we have these hadiths. I'm still remaining within, the hadith science here, but I want to shed a little bit light on the life of Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah ta'ala, the Sahib al-Arba'in al-Nawawiyya, the one who compiled these 42 hadiths of Imam al-Nawawi, of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was an exceptional person. He died in a very young age. He was born in Nawa, that's why he's called al-Nawawi. Nawa is a kind of a village near Damascus in Syria. And he was an exceptional scholar of his time. And he was not just a scholar, he was a very extremely righteous person too. Rajul muttaqi, mukhlas. And he was Sahib al-Karamat. He was a person who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala displayed his miracles through him. When he was in a very young age, and you have this in the book that talks about the life of Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah ta'ala. When he was in a young age, he was learning about Islam around, I would say probably 7 years old, 8 years old, around those years. And then it was Ramadan, and it is his own father who explains this. It was during the month of Ramadan, and all of a sudden, Imam al-Nawawi woke up people of the house and he said, wake up, wake up. And I went with him to see what's going on, because there was something strange that was happening. That's why he's waking up people in the middle of the night. And then he says to the father, Father, do you see the light that has been, that is all over the house? The nur that is all over the house. And the father is looking this way, looking that way. Family members, they're looking this way, that way. Like they don't see any light or anything, like normal, right? Normal night. Nothing strange. And then the father, I realized that it was, at that night, was the 27th night of Ramadan, and my son is seeing something that others are not able to see. Imam al-Nawawi, at a very young age. As he grows up, he studies under very well qualified scholars of Damascus at that time. And in one instance, another karama of Imam al-Nawawi, in one instance, one of the righteous people in Damascus had some problems. And he had to bear patience, but still he had a lot of pain. Imam Nawawi goes and visits him, and Imam Nawawi starts talking to him about patience, about sabr. He is not touching him. He is not reciting to him Quran. No ruqya, Shaykh. He is not doing any ruqya on him. He is just talking about sabr, the importance of sabr. And this righteous person, he says, from the moment he started talking to me about sabr, and by the time he finished his conversation, his talk, all the pain that I had was completely gone, he says. Just talking about patience. There was also another encounter, but this is a little bit long, so I don't want to take more of your time. Maybe you can read in the book. Another encounter with Shaitan that he had. That Shaitan appears in the madrasa that he was studying when he was young as well. It's a very interesting story, so I'll leave it for you to read in the book. It's in the book there.
That's a good That's a good
Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala was amazing. He was asked, because he was never married. He passed away in the 40s and he was never married, early 40s. And he said, when he was asked why he didn't get married, he said, I didn't have time to get married. Because he was an amazing writer, amazing teacher, a righteous person. By the way, he's not saying that, he's not setting an example for everybody to say like we don't have to get married, right? Our Nabi alayhi salatu was married. So, but these are very specific individuals who have dedicated their life only to certain things, to knowledge. And by the way, he wrote many books, and every book that he wrote, Imam al-Nawawi, remained a very, very essential book in that discipline he wrote on. When he wrote about fiqh, remained a very essential. And you study his books in all the classical, traditional madrasas throughout the Islamic world. You know, starting with the 40 hadiths of Imam al-Nawawi and going on with many others. Like, for example, al-adab of the adab tibyan, right? Sheikh, fi Hamad al-Quran. Al-adab, you know, the manners of those who recite the Quran, what kind of manners they should have with the Quran. Right? So it's a beautiful book, and all of his books, from what I remember, they're all translated in English language. They're simple to understand as well. So so this book was first written in Albanian because there was a need of a commentary and more contemporary commentary, and bringing some classical work in it. And alhamdulillah, Allah enabled me with His grace to translate it in English as well. This was translated no more than like 3 months ago, I think, or not even 3 months. So the publishing was very quick, and alhamdulillah. One thing that I encourage you is to study these, learn them, understand the meaning of them, and at the same time, you can get these books and take them as a gift for other people as well. I say to people, like, if you go as a visitor somewhere, if you want to give a gift to somebody, instead of giving sometimes sugar and giving things that are not that important, this is a very valuable gift that you can give to somebody, inshallah ta'ala. These books are also online on Amazon. There is also lulu.com. It's those who are not, those who don't want to go through Amazon, they can purchase this through lulu.com as well. All they need to do is just search for the name of the book, and then you will find it there as well. And whatever the book costs, the $20 that the book costs, all of it goes to the masjid, by the way, to UICA. And again, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase our knowledge, make us among those people who are patient in this world as we go through our tests. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase the blessings upon all of us and our families as well. And نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى الجنة ونعوذ بالله من النار ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى التوفيق لنا ولكم، ونسأله أن يجعلنا من عباده الصالحين من الذين لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. اللهم طهر قلوبنا واستر عيوبنا واشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا وانصرنا على أعدائنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين يا رب العالمين إنك خير الناصرين. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسول الله وآله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Jazakum Allah khair. Thank you for joining us. May Allah bless you. May Allah give you more reward, inshallah, and use us. And for sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with our great sincerity, thank you, Dr. Scott, for joining us with this gathering, mashallah, with the ulama. And I want to say something about Dr. Scott. When I was at the ICT one day, you remember they invited someone to give khutbah, but that guest not came that time. And you came to me, Sheikh, can you give khutbah? This before I come be imam in the ICT. I told him I don't prepare myself, and he said, I will say in Arabic what you want, I will translate for you. MashaAllah, this is karama for Dr. Scott. He write all my khutbah, and that time was what the virtues will get it from as-salatu ala nabiy sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. MashaAllah, he gave my khutbah in English 100%. He didn't forget anything. MashaAllah. MashaAllah, he's big alim. Inshallah, we'll invite him here to give khutbah here in our masjid. Because also, many times I invited him in the ICT and in the MCC to give khutbah. Inshallah, one day, I know he is very busy. But inshallah, we'll get benefit from you, from your knowledge, Doctor. Thank you, Imam Hassan. May Allah bless you. Thank you for joining us on this night. I know all of us every night here, I don't know why, but because a lot of brothers, who came here, they come to NCC yesterday. Jazakum Allah khair. May Allah reward you. May Allah make this sadaqah jariyah for you, Imam Gidmar. For this, I will. Can you stop?